What's up everyone, it's David. Welcome back to Gem Mint MTG, where we talk about graded Magic the Gathering cards. Today is another episode of the Graded Magic Market Review, where I talk about real world sales in the graded marketplace. Today we're going to be going only over BGS 9.5s that sold during the month of May. A lot of activity on the market, a bunch of awesome vintage cards, a few Silver Age cards as well, and a couple of modern cards as well that I thought were very interesting. Without any further ado, let's get right into this first card. All right, so let's get things started off here with the Modern Spotlight. This first card here is Imperial Seal from Portal 3 Kingdoms. This card sold for $1,736 in 9.5 condition. Had 10 on the surface, 9 on the centering, makes it a B+. Sold for $1,700. Near mint, they're running about $1,450. And it gives you a multiple of 1.16x. So actually a really low multiple for a BGS 9.5. But I think there's a couple things going on here. You can see the near mint price on these has changed quite a bit recently. The last time a near mint sold was for $1,800. So the fact that a BGS 9.5 sold for $1,700, I thought was very interesting. I think there's a couple things going on here. I think this is not the most popular card among higher end collectors, especially for a card that's $2,000. That's a lot of money for anybody to spend, and there's a lot of other things that you can get for that. And a non-reserve list card from Portal that's mostly, really only infamous because of its playability in Commander. I know there are some P3K fans out there, but to me personally, I'm not that interested in this card. I feel like it's going to get reprinted very soon, could very well be in the same artwork as well. So I'm not too surprised about that. And I think the near mint asking price on these is just getting way, way, way high. I mean, I looked at TCG Player, I threw a screen grab of the near mint that is available, and it's $2,500. I think that's way, way too much. I don't ever see that card selling. So I think there's just a few things going on here that this card is just a little overpriced for what it's being asked for in near mint condition. And I'd expect the near mint price on this to retrace quite a bit, because another 9.5 recently sold. See that other screenshot for about the same price. So I think that if a gem mint is $1,700, I don't think that the raw near mints are going to hold that over $2,000 price. I think there's just a bit of arbitrage going on here in a bad way, that the near mints on these I think are going to retrace a little bit if and when some come back onto the market, but not easy to find these. Moving on to Painter Servant, Kaladesh Masterpiece. This absolutely stunning BGS 9.5 sold for $495. Near mint, they're running about $210. Add for the grading fee, gives you a multiple of 1.9. Really cool. I think that this was, kind of in line with what you expect. Around a 2x multiple is pretty good for a BGS 9.5. It's nothing crazy. Which, I'm not too surprised about that. It is a Kaladesh Masterpiece, which there is a good market for those cards. I absolutely love cards like this. I have quite a collection of Kaladesh Masterpieces. I think they're awesome, but, I don't think that they're going to command like a crazy premium like an Arabian card or something like that. We'll see some examples of a little further in the video here. That quickly brings us to the Silver Age Spotlight. Just got a couple cards to talk about here. This first one here is Volrath Stronghold from Stronghold. This BGS 9.5 quad sold for $599.99 for a Volrath Stronghold. That's crazy. Near mint, they're running about $117.50. Gives you a multiple of 3.58. So I've talked about it a million times on this channel. I'm a big believer in Silver Age reserve list cards, especially the ones that are playable in Commander. They have a very strong fan base. There's a lot of people who love this card. There's a lot of people who grew up, myself included, playing with cards like this, and it just has a really good fan base, and they're still at a price point that I think is very attractive for a lot of people. So it doesn't really surprise me that a card like this can fetch a crazy multiple like 3.58. I mean, that's normally reserved for the likes of alpha cards, Arabian cards. But, when a card, another thing that I've talked about, when the near mint average price of a card isn't as high, generally you can get a higher multiple for that card. So this being a card that's 117 bucks, it's not crazily priced to where it's going to price people completely out of the market like that Imperial Seal. If Imperial Seal was a $120 card, maybe it would get a multiple like this. But card like this, affordably priced, awesome card, reserved list from an iconic set like Stronghold, doesn't surprise me at all. Absolutely awesome. Love this card, love the sale. And the next card here, you know it, you love it, the Gaea's Cradle from Urza's Saga, possibly the most iconic Silver Age card of all time, up there with Mox Diamond, Lion's Eye Diamond, stuff like that. This card is an absolute powerhouse, extremely popular in many formats, nostalgic, it has everything going for it. 2 of these sold recently, so I thought this was cool. I'd throw them both up on there. Near mint, they're running about 950 bucks. These 2 sold for 2,400 and almost 2,600. So when you adjust for the grading fee, it's about $1,000, which gives you a multiple of 2.43 and 2.58, which is great for BGS 9.5, especially one that's over $1,000 and you're close to $1,000 in near mint condition. That's a very strong premium. They're not quads or anything like that. These are just basic 9.5s, and they sold for an absolutely excellent premium. I'm really happy to see the market on these holding very strong. There's a lot of cards that have retraced in value, or cards that I really think the asking price has gotten just way too high, like that Imperial Seal and a few other cards. But these have been holding their value very well, and the ones in BGS 9.5 condition have just continued to be very, very strong. Absolutely love the card, love the sales. That brings us to the Vintage Spotlight. So this is basically cards from 93 to, 95? So Silver Age was Mirage through Urza's Destiny when the reserved list ended. So basically I consider vintage cards anything before that, including all the stuff from Ice Age alliances, stuff like that. But getting started off here with Mightstone from Antiquities. This BGS 9.5 sold for $239.99. Near mint, they're about $50, so adjust for the grading fee, $100, gives you a multiple of 2.53. Really strong premium for this. I mean, you got to remember, this is a Mightstone. This is a card that was more or less not worth much of anything not that long ago. So the fact that somebody sold one of these for $240 is pretty crazy. But there's a good market for stuff like this. It's a reserve list card. You've got the Brothers War coming out that could possibly bring more attention to cards like this. So, I think that there are people who are getting more interested in Antiquities cards in preparation for that set in particular. So really cool card, really cool sale. Love the artwork. Strong multiple. Really nice. Moving on to Force of Will from Alliances. Therese Nielsen, the band artist. This card sold for $249.99. Near mint, they're around $91. Adjust for the grading fee, a multiple of 1.77x. So a couple things here. I think there's actually a few things going here. Force of Will is an uncommon. Force of Will is not a reserve list card. There's a lot of these in gem mint condition. And there's people who don't like Therese Nielsen. So you put all of those things together, and it's not the kind of card that's going to fetch a crazy premium like some of these other cards. I think the card is awesome. I absolutely love the artwork. And I actually had one of these at some point. I can't remember. I got rid of it. But yeah, love the card. I thought it was a good sale. Doesn't surprise me that this wasn't a 3-4x multiple on a card like this. You're just not going to get that for a Force of Will from Alliances. Arabian cards, on the other hand, take a look at this. Metamorphosis from Arabian Nights. This card sold for $250 for a common from Arabian Nights. Near mint, they're about $20. These Arabian cards are really hard to find in grade-worthy condition, but adjust for the grading fee, a multiple of 3.76x. Like I said, Arabian cards, people love these. Magic's first expansion. It's Christopher Rush artwork. It's just got a lot of stuff going for it. It's not a reserve list card. It's not a rare. But aside from that, just about everything else it has going for it. And there's people who collect Arabian Nights, the set in graded condition. So it doesn't surprise me that a card like this can fetch a very strong premium. Moving on to Helm of Obedience from Alliances. Look at this guy. Helm of Obedience pulling 261.50. Near mint there, a little under 40 bucks. Adjust for the grading fee, it's about 90. Gives you a multiple of 2.92. Very strong premium. Another, not quite Silver Age. Some people would call this a Silver Age card. Fair enough. But cards like this, it's a rare from Alliances. It's a reserve list card. It has a unique ability. It's playable in multiple different formats. It has cool artwork. It's got a lot going for it. And there's a lot of people who really like this card, myself included. I'm actually going to be grading. I have a couple of these that I'm going to hopefully get on my an upcoming grading submission. Really love the card. Glad to see it fetching a nice premium here. Moving on to Planes from Alpha. This is the version 2. This BGS 9.5 sold for almost $500 for a basic 9.5 of a basic land, but it's from Alpha. People love their Alpha cards, myself included. Very hard to find these Alpha cards in BGS 9.5 condition. You'll see them in like 8 and 8.5 and 9s. You'll see those all over the place, but 9.5s are very, very highly sought after among higher end collectors. And it doesn't surprise me that even a basic land from Alpha in gem mint condition can pull over a 4x multiple. This is very, very high. It doesn't surprise me because it's an Alpha card. Like I said, Alpha, Arabian, there's just a few subsets of cards that just always fetch like these crazy premiums. And Alpha is absolutely one of them. And another one, like I just said, is Arabian Nights. Cards like Aladdin's Lamp in BGS 9.5 condition can sell for $729.95. This is insane. I can't believe these cards. Aladdin's Lamp, Aladdin's Ring, Sandals of Abdallah. There's some Arabian cards that have just been absolutely going crazy lately, and it blows my mind. I cannot believe that a card that Aladdin's Lamp, if you would have told me a few years ago that someone would buy any copy of Aladdin's Lamp for over $700, I would have said you were crazy. But here we are. It's 2022. The world's going crazy. Near mint, they're about 110. Adjust for the grading fee, multiple of 4.56x. Like I said, once you get over 4x, that's crazy town, and Arabian Nights will get you there. Let's get back to something a little more normal, like Tropical Island from Revised and other dual lands. We'll go over another dual land as well here in a second. But this Tropical Island in BGS 9.5 condition sold for $1,351. Near mint, they're running about $766. Adjust for the grading fee, gives you a multiple 1.65. I've talked about dual lands quite a bit on this channel, so if you've heard this already, forgive me, but typically, dual lands in 9.5 condition do not command a strong premium. You're lucky if you ever get 2x. I don't know if I've ever seen one for 3x. You'd probably have to have some kind of like quad plus underground sea or something like that. I don't know. But generally, BGS 9.5 dual lands sell for about 1.5 to 2x. So doesn't surprise me at all. This is exactly what I would expect for a dual land. And speaking of which, let's take a look at Volcanic Island from Revised. Like I talked about in the last video, a lot of 9.5 dual lands were for sale in the last few weeks. I didn't get every single one of them because they're all the same. They never command a strong premium. Here's if you want to know how much your Volcanic Island from Revised in BGS 9.5 condition is worth, here you go. Here's 3 sales: 1,200, 1,250, 1,136. These were auctions, so you might be able to get a little bit more if you did a buy it now. You might be able to get like, 1,500, maybe 1,800 or something like that. But near mint, they're running 870, and your multiples here are 1.36 and 1.23 respectively. So about 1.3, 1.4 multiple, very similar to the Tropical Island at 1.6. You just don't get crazy premiums on cards like on dual lands in particular. Other cards from Revised like Copy Artifact, Wheel of Fortune, Vesuvian Doppelganger, those type of cards, even when they're around the same price as the dual land, they tend to get stronger multiples. I don't know. People just don't appreciate the duels as much as you would think. Now here's another card I want to talk about Nether Void from Legends. So this BGS 9.5 sold for $1,700. Near mint, they're running about $962, which with the grading P puts you at over $1,000 for a near mint Nether Void. Multiple 1.70. I put a screenshot of the sales of this card. I talked about this card and other Legends card quite a few times recently, and how I think some of the near mint asking prices on these have just gotten crazy, you know, and they're starting to come down. Like this, if you look at this screenshot here on the bottom here, the last time one of these sold in near mint condition on TCG Player, that was for $1,300. If you paid $1,300 for another Void in near mint condition, and then a few weeks later you saw a BGS 9.5 sell for $1,700, I would be not in a very good mood about that. I mean, I don't think there's any, I don't think you can deny that the asking prices on some of these have got way too high. 1,300 was too much. Now you're seeing them pop up for 900 or so. I think that's a lot more reasonable. And I think that we're going to continue to see that trend. I think some of these asking prices on these Legends cards have just gotten totally out of control. Similarly with Arabian Nights, but Arabian Nights seems to be just like a world all of its own that I personally think is some of the cards are overvalued. Like, what's the one I talked about? Singing Tree. I talked about Singing Tree a few times on this channel. I'm going to be watching that card and Nether Void just because I think they're kind of good bellwethers for those kind of lesser known Legends and Arabian cards, reserve list cards, that the near mint asking prices have just gotten totally crazy. But let's move on to more Arabian Nights. So speaking of cards that have gotten very expensive, Shahrazad had a few of these up for sale. Somebody unloaded their Shahrazad collection here. It looks like the same person. All the cards look like almost exactly the same position here. I don't ever really talk about who sells cards, but anyway. Yeah, so you had 3 Shahrazads come up for sale, all between $2,000 and $2,200. So I think that is a very accurate representation of what your Shahrazad in BGS 9.5 condition is worth. It's about $2,000. Near mint, they're about $762. Grading fee, $812. Multiple, about 2.5. Really nice multiple. It's a very expensive card. Pulling 2.5 times on a $700 card is very nice, but it's Arabian. It's an iconic card. This card has got a lot of popularity. There's people who have bought this card out. There's not a ton available, especially in near mint condition. So it's just one of those cards. It's got a following and it'll command a strong premium. Unlike, no, I'm just kidding, Mishra's Workshop. So the most iconic expensive card from Antiquities. So this BGS 9.5, there's actually 2 of these. They both sold for the, oh, hang on, let me make sure I didn't break my microphone like I did in the last video. Selling price $4,950 for both of these. Near mint, they're running about $3,750. Puts you to grading with the grading fee, $3,800, multiple 1.3. So a couple things here. Like I've talked about before, and I think I even mentioned it earlier in this video. Generally, as a card's raw near mint price decreases, you can get stronger multiples. As the card increases in value, generally you get lower multiples because there's just not a lot of people who can pay $5,000 for a card. The effect on the wallet is undeniable. A 2 or 3 multiple on a card like this would put it at, $7,000 to $10,000, and you're just not going to get that for a BGS 9.5 Mishra's Workshop. So it's one of those things. A 30% premium for a BGS 9.5 isn't unheard of, especially for an extremely valuable card like this. You also see this with with a lot of the Power 9 that sells. You're not going to get like for you know, if you sell like a beta time walk or something like that, like you're not going to get a 3x multiple on a beta time walk. Generally, it's going to be like, you know, 1.5, 2x, something like that if you're lucky. So 1.3 on a $4,000 card, it's not abnormal. And the fact that these are still holding at well over $3,000, it's crazy. But it's a very iconic card, and people love it. People love the workshop, which brings us to our last card, one of my favorite cards in the entire game, the Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale from Legends. So this BGS 9.5 sold for $5,900. Near mint, they're running about $3,625. Adjust for the grading fee gives you a multiple of 1.61x. Once again, once you scale up, it's hard to get a crazy 2, 3, 4x multiple on a card that costs $4,000. But you can see the Tabernacle is about the same price as the Mishra's Workshop. This one actually sold for quite a bit more than the Mishra's Workshop. I personally would pay more for a Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale. Mishra's Workshop is cool, but this artwork, the power of the card, this card is both the cards are absolutely insane and would never be printed again, but there's just something special about the Tabernacle that I think it will always carry a very strong premium. I absolutely love this card. I remember, like, I never had one of these growing up, but I remember seeing it in like InQuest and Scry magazine and stuff, and I just, like, the artwork, absolutely fell in love with it. It's like this misty tabernacle in the field. I can just like imagine like being a knight and like pulling up and you're at the tabernacle to stay for the night, and they're like, no, you got to pay one. You're like, shit, I'm out of here. Anyway, that's it. That's the last card for the BGS 9.5 review for the month of May. I hope you enjoyed watching. I love making videos like this. I love talking about graded cards like this on a regular basis. If you're not already a subscriber to this channel, hit that subscribe button and join in the fun, because I'm going to be talking about graded cards all the time here on Gem Mint MTG. I got a few more videos coming up. I just got a notification that the latest BGS submission is getting returned that has the Mock Sapphire, the Time Twister, a bunch of good stuff in there. I've got another order that should be coming back soon. I've got another order that I haven't even talked about yet that's already there getting graded. I just haven't got to making a video about what's in it. And then I've got another order that I'm actually probably going to be mailing out, I don't know, hopefully tomorrow or Wednesday. And that's going to be a very interesting one. I'm going to do definitely going to do a video about that one. It's going to be interesting. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. Until next time, have a great one.